Okay, Sunday, March 26th. Thank you so much for being with me today. The book I hope to inspire you to read is called The Alter Ego Effect by Mr. Todd Herman. And the biggest thing about this book is that I wish I'd written the book myself. Back in 1992, 91, I was called to serve a 2-year Mormon mission down in Bogota, Colombia. And I'd been there for about a year in the actual country of Colombia. My Spanish was good, things were good, and a missionary who'd been there longer than me, he was one of my zone leaders, so he was probably there about 18 months. And I'd been there, like I said, around a year. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, Mead, how do you do it?" And I was like, "Dude, what's he talking about? How do you do what?" You know? And so I was kind of looking at him like, what are you referring to? And he says, "How do you just go up and talk to people the way you do?" He goes, "You know, I'm your zone leader. I've gone on splits with you where he would go do missionary work with me. I've watched you, I've observed you, I've seen you on this. We were on a little outing that day. You just say hi to everybody. You just seem to have no fear. How do you do it?" I said, "You really want to know?" He said, "Yeah, I really want to know." I said, "You sure?" He goes, "I'm sure." I said, "You got to promise me you're not going to laugh." And that kind of shocked him. He was like, "What?" And I said, "I'll tell you how I do it, but you got to promise that you're not going to laugh and you're not going to go tell everybody what it is I do and how I do it." And he goes, "Look, Mead, I've been in the mission field about 18 months. I just really want to know how you do it because I want to do it too." So I said, "All right." So we kind of separated ourselves from the group. And again, I made him promise that he would not laugh at me. And I said, "All I do is I pretend I'm someone else." And he just went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I just kind of channel, or I just kind of pretend that I'm no longer Marty Mead, I'm somebody else. And so if the person that I'm talking to rejects my message, they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting the person that I'm pretending to be." And he's looking at me and he's just like, wow. And his mind was blown. And I thought I had kind of gotten off easy on that. And he was kind of turning around to walk and go back to the group. And he goes, "Wait, hold on a second." He goes, "Who do you pretend to be?" And I said, "My brothers." And he was just floored. I said, my brothers are really cool guys. They have a lot of friends. Everybody seems to like them. So before I knock on a door, before I talk to somebody, I kind of pretend that I'm either my brother Randy or my brother Tom, and I sort of channel them. And that way, if they don't like the message I have to say, they're not rejecting Marty. They're rejecting one of my brothers. And needless to say, dude, he was not at all laughing at me. He was really stoked. I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if he ever went on and used it in other settings. But I've had other friends that I've shared this book with. And I know one guy in particular, before he goes in the weight room, he channels his own alter ego. And his alter ego has an origin story, and he has a totem. And I know before he went on his mission, he was setting all kinds of personal records, PRs, with what he was able to lift. And he read this book and loved it. I think the thing that most impressed me about this book are that, in addition to talking about Clark Kent, right? You know, Clark Kent when he has his glasses on, Superman when his glasses are off. So he talks about that in the book. He talks about other superheroes and some of their things that get them into their alter ego. They talk about Martin Luther King, how he had an alter ego. I'm an athletic kind of guy, at least in my mind I am. And I was a big fan of Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson actually found the author and was talking to the author before the guy had written the book. Before Todd had written the book, he ran into Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson actually told them that in high school, he really couldn't get through an actual game without getting ejected, because people would cheap shot him and trash talk him and do everything they could to throw him off his game and get him out of the game. And one day his coach came up to him and said, hey man, if you don't get your emotions in check and under control, you may never be able to go anywhere with your athleticism. And at the time, Bo was watching a lot of horror movies. You know, he was in high school and horror movies were the thing, and he had been watching a lot of Friday the 13th, which I know sounds funny. And he decided that Jason Voorhees, the main villain in Friday the 13th, he was a killing machine and nothing got in his way. And didn't matter how fast you ran, how much of a head start you had, Jason was going to get his guy or his gal eventually. And so Bo Jackson, as soon as he stepped on the field, he was the Jason Voorhees of scoring touchdowns or getting home runs or catching a long fly ball, you know. And he just had that single-mindedness that Jason Voorhees had. Of course, it wasn't towards killing someone, thankfully, but it definitely was about him staying focused on what his prize was, which was scoring touchdowns, getting home runs, stealing bases, and being an amazing center fielder. But the story that impressed me the most, or made me feel, I guess, the most good about who I am as a person, was he talks about this young lady who grew up in Texas. And she was discovered at a very young age. She was an amazing singer. She could just, you know, blow the roof off of these chapels and different event halls where she would be asked to go and sing, and just had an amazing voice. But when it came time for her to sing some of the lyrics that they wanted her to sing, wear some of the outfits they wanted her to wear, and do a lot of the dance moves that they wanted her to do, it just didn't really jive with her conservative Christian upbringing. And so in order to have success in her career, she developed an alter ego. And that was Sasha Fierce. And the singer is Beyonce Knowles. And in my mind, if it's good enough for somebody like Beyonce, then it's good enough for me. Because she has just achieved and accomplished pretty much any and everything that a singer would want to accomplish. There's another story in the book that really impressed me about a young boy in high school who was a fantastic basketball player. But when the game was on the line, his mental game just wasn't quite right. And so when you read about Anthony, you know, at one point he wakes up at I think 4 o'clock in the morning and takes a train from where he lives into New York City to meet Todd Herman at the gym that Todd Herman works out at. And he gets there without anybody knowing, because he knows that he needs help to get his game to the next level. And so Todd sits down with him and helps him develop an origin story, because every good hero has an origin story, and a totem, because every good hero has a great totem, and helps this young basketball player named Anthony discover his heroic self. And that's really what this book is all about. We know that the answers are here and here, and sometimes it's just figuring out a way to unlock whatever it is that's blocking our success. And in my own life as a salesperson, I've got about 5 different mentors, and I can channel them prior to going into a sales meeting and make sure that I'm covering all my bases and everything is as sharp as it needs to be. This book is such a great book and has so many great insights into unlocking your potential and being just as great as you're supposed to be. I really do hope to inspire a non-reader to read this book and then post 1 or 4 comments down below about things that they thought were insightful that they found in this book. And for those of you that do read and you're looking for a great book to read, I highly recommend this book and would love for you to share anywhere from 1 to, like I said, 3, maybe 4 comments of little nuggets of information that you found helpful or insightful. Because what I'm really trying to do is establish this community of both non-readers and readers and try to get as much information out there to help us all have some amazing freaking lives. So thank you for watching to the end, and hope to see you at the next video.